available to qualified property owners for qualified projects for the acquisition, construction, reconstruction, or equipping of energy improvements or renewable energy systems or other projects authorized under the enabling and Article 5-L of the General Municipal Law. Such funds will be repaid through charges on the real properties benefited by such funds, thereby fulfilling the purposes of this local law and the public policies expressed by the Enabling Act. Whereas it is the desire of the Greene County Legislature to repeal and replace local law number 2 of 2022 for purposes of amending the definitions contained within local law number 2 of 2022 of municipal and non-municipal liens as applicable to pilot agreements, which adoption of said local law number 3 of 2022 requires a public hearing to be held. The full text of this proposed local law number 3 of 2022 is available for review in the office of the Greene County Legislature, 408-411 Main Street, Catskill, New York, 12414, and on the Greene County website, www.discovergreene.com. A notice is further given that the county legislature of the County of Greene will conduct a public hearing on the aforesaid local law on the 5th day of October 2022 at 5:55 p.m. in the Legislative Chambers, Greene County Office Building, 411 Main Street, 4th floor, Catskill, New York, at which time all person interested in the subject matter thereof will be heard concerning the same. Dated September 26, 2022, and signed Tammy L. Shavilla, Acting Clerk, Greene County Legislature.
Thank you, Tanya. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear comments from the public regarding local law number 3 of 2022, a local law to repeal and replace local law number 2 of 2022 to establish a sustainable energy loan program, open CPACE, in the County of Greene. If you would like to speak, I would just ask that you raise your hand to be recognized, and when you stand, please state your name for the record, and with that, we'll begin the hearing. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to be heard with regards to local law number 3 of 2022? Not all at once. One more time, is there anyone here this evening who wishes to be heard with regards to local law number 3 of 2022? Hearing none, and we are a little bit late starting this anyway. I will close the public hearing at this time. Thank you. Legislative meeting. All right, I'd like to call special legislative meeting number 4 for the year 2022 to order, and ask everyone to please rise for a moment of silent prayer. You follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All legislators are present.
And item that's on tonight's agenda.
Motion to adopt local law number 3 of 2022, a local law to repeal and replace local law number 2 of 2022, County of Greene, New York, to establish an energy loan program, open CPACE, in the County of Greene. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Second. Senator Hobart. Since they local law last time, you have a roll call, please.
Legislator Rivera,
Yes.
Legislator Martinez,
Yes.
Legislator Overblock,
Yes.
Legislator Dorrington,
Yes.
Legislator True,
Yes.
Legislator Blumer,
Yes.
Legislator Buick,
Aye.
Legislator Davis,
Aye.
Legislator Handle,
Aye.
Legislator Hobart,
Aye.
Legislator Lake,
Aye.
Legislator Lennon,
Yes.
Legislator Lucas,
Aye.
and Chairman Linger.
Aye.
We have 10,000 ayes and 0 noes.
Carried. And as this is a special meeting, there's no further business to conduct tonight. So this meeting is now adjourned. Committee meetings. Need or no? Time is ready.
Evening, everybody. Opening up Health Services Committee meeting at 6:05 p.m. First, we have Karen, I'm trying to say this right, Kaiser, the Program Director of Tobacco-Free Action of Columbia and Greene Counties, to give a presentation.
Hey, everyone. My colleague, we didn't bring, I wasn't sure what the setup was going to be, so we brought some packets of information. There's not enough quite for everybody, but if people can share, I think it'll go around. As I'm sure you all know, the culture of teen smoking has now been replaced by the culture of teen vaping, which has become a huge problem for schools and a troubling concern for parents. Under 3% of high school students now use cigarettes, but between 20 and 25% are vaping. Smaller numbers, but still significant numbers of middle school students use vapes. And we've had guidance counselors from at least 2 school districts who have told us that they have taken vapes away from 4th graders. Probably got them from an older sibling. So I've been asked to provide some information about vaping and some types of vaping devices, especially ones that are easily concealed or disguised. The first thing to emphasize is that nicotine in any form can be harmful to the developing adolescent brain. E-liquids can contain nicotine in far stronger concentrations than is found in combustible cigarettes, exposing teens to greater risk. I didn't bring a jewel pod, but it's about this size, and it has the equivalent nicotine in it of a whole pack of cigarettes. And teens can go through one of those a day, sometimes. In addition to being addictive, nicotine causes changes in the way that the synapses are formed in the developing brain that can affect attention, learning, mood, impulse control, and may increase the risk of addiction to other drugs. High doses of nicotine can also cause physical symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, racing heart, sweating, and anxiety. As yet, there are no regulations or restrictions on the amount of nicotine e-liquids can contain. The high-tech look, feel, and delivery of vaping devices is a huge attraction to teens. And Juul was the first to introduce really sleek systems with palms that look like a thumb drive. But since then, the floodgates of innovation have just opened up. And now there's so many different devices, it's hard to keep track of them all. So if you look in your packet on the right-hand side, the first page is now what we would call conventional vaping devices. They're certainly a long way from the original e-cigarette that actually looked like an e-cigarette. But these all have been around for long enough that these aren't the wildest ones. Most of these are, I don't know if you can tell from the pictures, but most of them are really compact and they're very easy to conceal and to use on the slide, which is a big problem, especially in schools. So in addition, there are some specialty products, which I've arranged in your folder from the most conventional to the most outrageous. So if you look at, there's a whole industry here of marketing these products, and some of them are deliberately designed to be disguised, and you can see in your packet the hoodie, the backpack, the iPhone case, pens, smartwatches. I don't know how many kids think they could afford to fake a smartwatch, but it would be effective. And then, of course, the lipstick and the highlighter. We were actually sent this picture by a nurse in one of the Greene County schools, and who told us these were on sale at the smoke shop in Quixotic. They're all legal. Someone asked that question earlier. It's all legal. No, it's not. It's not legal to be sold to anybody on. You have to be 21 to buy them, but it is legal to sell. So I do want to just to say that, of course, the lipstick and the highlighter, they're very good for shock value. But it's fair to say that most teens they don't have to go to the trouble to find something that exotic. They use something that's more readily available. They're just as easy to buy. So flavors are another draw to kids, and technically retailers in New York State are prohibited from selling flavored vaping products. In April of 2019, the legislature, the New York State legislature, passed a packet of tobacco restrictions, chief among them that no flavored vapes were to be sold. That package also included no redeeming coupons, no offering discounts, no sales at pharmacies, and you're not supposed to. It's also prohibited to mail vapes or to deliver vapes from the distributor to a private address, although it happens. So technically, vaping products are prohibited. Flavored vaping products are prohibited in New York State, but it's not hard to find them. We've done observations in many of the local stores, not as many on this side of the river. We're undertaking that pretty soon. But we found whole displays of flavored vapes, mostly of the disposable kind, right on the counter, not even trying to hide them. Most of this is in independent gas stations or neighborhood stores. You won't find them in stores or Cumberland Farms, but they're very easy to find. So THC and CBD also come in pre-filled vapes, but cannabis and other drugs can also be used in vaping devices that are refillable. You can see on the top form that there are plenty of devices that you can fill with anything your heart desires. It's such a problem now that there are test kits for schools and for parents that can determine whether actually what's in your vape is nicotine or marijuana or even fentanyl. It's pretty scary. Last year, there was a school in Columbia County that told us they had 2 teens that had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital and required hospital level care for several days after they gave THC extract to the. And then a few months ago, we had a call from a caseworker at a children's services agency. She was working with a family that had a teen who was stealing or getting vapes from her friends. And her mother was really worried because she didn't know where they were coming from. And she was really scared about what was in them. And so the caseworker was calling us to say, how can we find out? So fortunately, there are tests that parents and schools can do. The second thing to emphasize is that parents should talk with their teens about vaping, meaning have a conversation, don't give a lecture. The organization PAVE, which stands for Parents Against Vaping E-Cigarettes, has a website that's full of information about vaping, and there's a resource page for parents that includes facts about vaping and how to have this conversation with your kids. And all of the tips come from well-reputed organizations, American Lung Association, the Surgeon General, Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. In the back of your packet, there's a resource list for schools, and on pages 3 and 4, there are the web links to both the Soda Technologies, which makes the kits, and to the PAVE website. I can provide that electronically if you want to put it on. If you have any websites you want to put it on, we'd be happy to provide that. So it's also important for parents to watch for warning signs of vaping, such as sweet smells coming out from behind closed doors, school supplies or other products that look unfamiliar that you find in a backpack or a bedroom, unfamiliar credit card charges, and changes in behavior, such as irritability, anxiety, increased mood swings. I know teens often have this anyway. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Compounding the problem is the fact that many teens, the teens have been under a lot of school-age children of all ages have been under a lot of stress, and student mental health was not great before COVID. So we find in this, many of the schools are telling us that kids are using vapes to try and cope with their own feelings of stress, anxiety. Unfortunately, nicotine makes those worse, so it doesn't help. And once teens get caught up in the cycle of if they get addicted, it's easy to get addicted to these things. The cycle of withdrawal imitates, it's irritability, it's anxiety, it's all those things. So it's a vicious circle. So our program provides help to schools in the form of classroom presentations and discussions, leading discussion with students, information for parent groups, information about teen cessation programs, and assistance in finding effective alternatives to suspension for students who are using vapes in violation. Our youth coordinator has been to 2 or 3 of the schools in Greene County. It's been to Coxsackie, Athens, He's been to Catskill, and we're hoping to be in Hunter Tenner's blessing. We're open to any school. In fact, our youth coordinator this afternoon is at Questar for a superintendent's meeting where he's going to be talking a little bit more about the resources that we can offer to schools. So that's all I have to say. I hope I answered some of the questions that you had, Matt.
Yes,
And if anybody has any questions.
I just wanted to thank you for coming here. I know that Assemblyman Tague had brought this to our attention, and we had a press conference about it about a month ago. And I think it's important, something simple that we could do, as a county and as legislators, is to educate the public about what's out there. So I think if we can get some of these lists on our website.
And we can also provide you the images electronically.
Yeah, I think the thing with the hoodie, Charlie and I were talking, it's like, you wouldn't even suspect that somebody that's wearing this, or even the lipstick, that would be a device.
I think at the press conference, the sheriff actually said that his men had been going around to some of the smoke shops, and they had found the highlighter for sale in Cooksaki. And he said when he was just walking on the street, and there was a young man, I don't know if it was a teen or not, but it was a young man with a hoodie, and he didn't think anything of it. And then he saw the young man take the string, which was actually a tube, and puff on it. So
I think any way that we can educate the public would be a plus.
and please let us know any way we can help you.
Thank you.
Are you seeing the nicotine component being overtaken by the cannabis component?
We're not in the schools. I know that our youth coordinator told me that he had a conversation with one of the teachers, I think it was in Hudson, and she said what they're really worried about is the edibles. They're worried about gummies, they're worried about brownies, they're worried about things that you can't detect.
Well, I was just on the news about they're almost like little Smartie candies, and it's fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
Well,
Yeah.
kill somebody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll get into all our resolutions. I noticed we have Mark Evans and Ron Rouse here. Did you want to say anything before we go through these resolutions?
Not unless there's any questions.
Does anybody have any questions on first resolution this evening?
I will just say, there's no questions. I'm sure Sean probably gave an update on the MDI that happened about 6 weeks ago. I had the fortunate or unfortunate chance to be on the first engine that arrived, and it was quite the scene. And I'm sure Sean probably told you that all 5 of the medics that were on duty made it to the scene. Even the medic from Prattsville made it to the scene and transport. The first medic on the scene actually was stationed in Carroll and was currently in Earlton at the Earlton Firehouse because there was other calls going on. He made it to the scene first, and he was the triage medic, and he took care of making sure prioritizing who was going off the scene first, second, and third, and did an excellent job. And I want to thank Sean. He was there, and I had kind of a unique view of sitting on top of the fire truck and watching this whole thing unfold, and it really, really ran well. Everybody did a phenomenal job, and we had a critique a couple weeks ago, and it was really, really good. The other thing I mentioned too is we have one medic who was either I'm not sure how to call her, but she's had 4 cardiac arrest stage so far this year. Just one. She's usually based in Greenville. And 2 of them have walked out of the hospital, fully functioning. So she's either the luckiest medic or those patients are the luckiest people to have her, but very, very unusual. So, but if there's no questions, we appreciate your support and another contract for next year.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you.
Resolutions, authorizing contract, Greene County with Greene County Emergency Medical Systems, Inc. Campbell, Boomer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I just point out, Patty, I did support that, but I would like to see us get more of these financial statements. We used to get like quarterly updates about what, their budget and so forth. So if we could start getting those again, I think that would be helpful.
Mr. Rouse? The possibility?
I said, years ago, we used to get quarterly updates, on your budget, on things that were happening. Even used to send all of that to us. We haven't really been receiving it. We're asking that we start receiving, all of us start receiving it again, especially with some of the issues that we've had with EMS. Opens up a larger discussion that we've been having as a county. So I would like to start seeing us getting these quarterly reports. Where are the funds being used? What's most effective, et cetera. So that would be helpful for us going forward.
I agree. I definitely agree. It should be quarterly report. Maybe have Ron and Mark come in every few months.
Even just getting them emailed to us, that's what Aiden was doing.
And go to the meetings too, right? So even if you get a copy of them.
I can bring it up. I can bring it. Sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
Send it to Tammy. You can get it out to us.
Yes. Thank you, Matt. Authorizing agreement, Greene County with Greene County Emergency Medical Systems, Inc. for the town of Halifax. Hobart.
Yes.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement with Greene County Mental Health and Trust Star 3.
True.
Lucas.
Boomer, Lucas, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Family Planning and National Coalition of STD Directors, Let's Get Checked. True, Campbell.
Patty, I just have a question.
Yes.
Is Laura here?
Laura is not here. Laura and Kim are not here.
Oh,
this
but
evening.
I just wondered how many test kits the county?
This is a new type.
Oh, all right, thank you. You
All
bet.
in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizing agreement, Greene County Public Health Preschool Special Education Program and Amazing Grace Transportation. Later,
I'll second it. but
I have a question.
okay.
They just, because obviously they can't fulfill the contract.
Lauren, would you address this question for us? Lauren Clark is here.
Right,
I'm
so
director.
we have a company that has personnel issues and they cannot fulfill their obligated contract. Are they still, and there's another group willing to step in for them? Does that money now divert to the other company? They're not still paid in full because they can't provide the
No,
service.
it's
right?
on a per trial basis.
Okay,
So unfortunately, they've reached their maximum amount of children that they can transport to locations.
all right.
They're having severe staffing issues.
Is it that there are more children who now need the transportation? Is that?
No, unfortunately, it's a manpower issue for that company. And it's pervasive through the region. It was challenging to find preschool transportation to begin with, and it's just become even worse. And also with providers as well, to provide services. We have a lot of children on waiting lists right now. It's not good.
Okay, thank you.
Jay, did you have anything?
I just, the price the same if another child has to ride that.
I'm sorry. you can-
If the-
If
there's
there's a
another,
second child in the car, is there?
So typically the transport occurs with a driver and an aide. That's like a standard way that we transport children. Currently, there is a couple of instances where they haven't even been able to hire a bus aide. And so we've had to make provisions within our current, contract for that. But because these are children with high needs, they usually require an aide as well.
Sean, I know a couple years back, we had seen a contract like this come across, and I said it then, I mean, it's a ton of money to pay for transportation, and why can't we offer the parent instead of $500, $250 a day, and you bring your own child up to the school?
We do offer parent reimbursement
Okay.
we encourage parents. We strongly
just-
encourage parents
okay.
right now. It's usually the first part of the conversation. Unfortunately, a lot of families don't have the resources they don't have a car, a reliable vehicle, or, different reasons. And we are required to offer transportation. It's a mandate.
I know, but I mean, $250 a day, you can buy a pretty nice minivan, pay a monthly payment for a nice minivan with $250 a day. So I don't know why we don't look for a better way rather than rely on because this is a lot of money.
Well, if the
Looks like
parent
for 2
declines,
years.
then we're forced to go into the transportation.
That's
Right.
correct.
But if we offer the parent first option.
I just don't know if parents are told, hey, I don't know if some of them are really think, hey, I could do this and maybe don't have to work a second job.
Our municipal rep is attending every meeting or if not, if she's not able to, I do. And we do bring that to families that only children who are receiving center-based services are entitled to this type of reimbursement or
Yeah.
transportation. And we have a lot of parents, even foster parents, that have been able to transport children, but really are, some children just don't go until we can get their child on a bus.
Gotcha. Sean,
And the
how,
children are on buses for a very long, we've gotten to the point where children, the recommendation is an hour and 15 minutes. And we have some children that are reaching and maxing out on that.
geez. What, the funding stream for things like this, is this directly coming from the state on the funding for transportation, or is this borne on the county?
Counselors.
We get no reimbursement from the state or federal government on this.
We do.
Yeah, we do
Chris?
get some. I
We do.
forgot.
Tanya, you want to explain that?
Yes, no, we do. So for transportation, there is a cap. And it caps out what we do get, but for services, they do reimburse us 9.5%.
So it's mandated,
And
but
yes, all of this is mandated.
But it's not fully funded.
like a lot of things in the state.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's lean on Hobart, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Approving individual provider contracts preschool special education program.
Davis.
Davis, Bloomer, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Approving individual provider contracts preschool special education program.
Davis.
Davis, Bloomer, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Approving individual provider contracts, preschool special education program.
Davis.
Davis, Randall, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Accepting minutes, medical professional advisory committee, utilization review committee, January, February, and March, Q1, 2022.
Davis.
Davis, Hobart, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Anything else come before Health Services Committee this evening?
Motion to close.
I'll second that. We are closed.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
you, Tanya. I'd like to call county resources to order at 6:34. As everyone can see, we have no proposed action items for the month of October unless someone needs to discuss anything. I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second. We are closed.
I had Lavera be with you.
Yes.
Good job.
Quick, huh?
I took all this time.
Really? Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order at 6:35 PM. There are no proposed action items, so we don't have to worry about any of those. At this time, I have Director John Farrell from the 911 Center give us an update.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'll give you the numbers for the month of September. EMS calls 613, fire 240, police 1231, unknown 817 with a total of 2,901. Hazmat calls was 1, fire investigations were 2. I just want to say something too that Mark had mentioned as well in regard to that accident on the thruway. I have to say, not every fire company has EMTs, but I have to bring this up, not because, Mr. Chairman, because let me tell you, it was a great asset when New Baltimore came. We met in Coxsackie Hose 3. I had to bring that up because of the fact they had 8 or 9 EMTs along with our 5 paramedics. And believe it or not, with all those 14 passengers, the fire department did an excellent job getting them out. And those EMTs had them all lined up. And when those ambulances came to the scene, all of us were basically back home within an hour and 45 minutes. So that tells you just how positive everything went. And the other thing I just want to say that recently in West Athens, we had a very, very serious auto accident there, which was almost about 7 hours straight. I can't say enough for our mutual aid companies with the paramedics, Athens and Catskill, along with West Athens, working on those 2 individuals. It took quite a period of time to get them out. We ordered 2 medic helicopters to the scene, and there again, they're very professional, and they worked on the patients during the whole process. Just to see everybody come within 30 minutes of that call, it was just incredible. We met last night along with Sean and West Athens companies that participated, and it was a good turnout, just like it was up in Hose 3. But I certainly want to say, when you have a 6-7 hour operation like that, you really need a lot of manpower. And luckily, we had it that night on our mutual aid companies, because West Athens, we only had 4 firefighters. Everybody else was out of town. So that's the commitment of mutual aid companies coming together to handle whatever the situation is. Under mutual aid calls, we had EMS, we had 27, and fire, we had 6. Today, just to bring you up to speed, I spent most of the day interviewing for dispatchers positions. It was a pretty successful day. Looking forward to move forward on that. And on the 18th of this month, we'll be doing the interviewing for the 911 communication director. So we're making progress. Again, I think the 9/11 ceremony last month was very well. I thank everybody for coming. And the last thing I have, last Wednesday night, we had a roundtable discussion with 23 fire chiefs out at the office.
In attendance was Senator Henchy, Jackie Bray, the Commissioner of Homeland Security for the state of New York, and also Jim Cable, our fire administrator for the state. And Harry, I just want to say thank you for your attendance in that meeting as well.
It was a great meeting, John.
So just some of the items, not to get into it too long, but just so you're aware. What came out of that meeting was most of the fire chiefs in the room, leadership training is necessary for those chiefs that are in those positions throughout the county. They talked about the run-along program and what the Catskill Fire Department has. I know there's two people from Lacey Ford that live out of the district, and they leave their job to pull a truck. Talked about that. We also talked about the 2% revolving loan program that the state offers to the fire departments and EMS and so forth to buy equipment, trucks, buildings, and so forth. Jimmy Cable had given a detailed report on that. They also talked about training. How can we shorten the training on our firefighters when they're going, having a job and so forth, and asking to do more online training than what's happening currently. They also talked about courses being available at the colleges. And that's something that I have mentioned many times, and I know under the governor's task force, that is one of the top items on the list. And one of the things that came out, which I thought was two things really that came out, was inside the county, the town, the planning boards. They're building all these 4- or 5-story buildings. And guess what?
You're not firematic.
The fire chief of that jurisdiction isn't involved. They're only involved when the building is up and there's a working structure fire in there. So I think that's something that the county planning board and each town planning board should get more involved with. But that came out of about 4 or 5 fire chiefs, just to make sure that they have the proper equipment for that particular building. And so I just wanted to mention that. And the last thing they brought up is code enforcement. Fire chief can't leave a structure fire unless the code enforcement comes to the scene, and he takes it over. And sometimes there's nobody. You may go to Florida for a month. So that was an issue that came up last month. And so I thought overall the 2 hours program was very beneficial. And I'm planning on moving forward to have maybe a quarterly meeting with those fire chiefs. And the fire advisory board, you get the leaders, each fire company appoints one person to be on that fire advisory board. But you don't have the opportunity to talk to the chiefs. And I have to say, it was very educational. And I did hardly no talking. It was all between the state officials and fire chiefs that are boots on the ground. They're trying to train their personnel and so forth. So I thought it was an excellent evening, and I sent a nice follow-up to the people, to our fire administrator and the state for taking time out of their busy life to come down.
Yeah, the Commissioner of Homeland Security acted like they were definitely going to take a lot of this back and sink their teeth into it. So hopefully that works.
Well, and Jackie Bray, she's the one that sends out these grants to the emergency plans that Dan works on and so forth. So hopefully continue to get some more grant funds.
One thing the fire chiefs did talk about is our support. Legislature, they did talk about some housing, expensive to own a house. They're going out, volunteer. There should be some kind of a tax break. Talked about some, they also talked about like a barracks, like rooming in the fire departments. Some of these people that don't have families, they're throwing everything out on the table because they realize we do have a major problem here in Greene County, and not only in Greene County, in all upstate New York, with volunteerism.
Nationwide.
Nationwide, right.
The commissioner did bring up about consolidation. Okay. As we all know, that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that what they ended up really talking about is, I was saying to Sean about maybe 4 or 5 companies order the equipment together. Or maybe ordering equipment through the county, trying to get it cheaper, okay? Instead of buying West Athens buying a hose on their own, and 7 other companies do it together. Maybe that'd be something that could save some funding.
Talked about us, they talked about, not me, they talked about, perhaps a small paid squad or unit that would go different parts of the county during the day. Eventually, they would be paid with benefits. I mean, they threw out a whole host of ideas, which I thought it was a very good meeting.
Oh, Elliot, I think what it is, you take Athens, West Athens, and Casco, we're all on automatic alarm. And just a few years ago, West Athens would do 60 calls. We're going to hit over 100 this year. Okay, and you got the same 15 people. And Athens is probably the same way. So we're all grouping together. But I think having more of these type of meetings will put us in where we need to be, how to improve equipment and so forth. And how do we try to bring in the next generation. So I just wanted to bring that up. Like I said, I thought it was a very successful meeting, very candid. There's no secrets at all around that table.
No,
That's for sure.
they aired it out.
I think we should push for a federal or state tax credit for volunteer firemen.
The state gives $200.
That's not enough.
It's not enough.
That's an insult
Can
to
you
our
imagine?
volunteers.
That's what it
We
is.
have to
That's
pay
an
for that?
insult to our volunteers, and they said that. It really is.
That's the state or federal?
State.
State. They're looking at change right now, what's on paper, they're talking about increasing to 500. What's 500?
500?
That's another insult.
5,000?
Even at 10% off your taxes. Compared to the amount of hours a volunteer has to put in.
That's correct.
On a weekly basis to stay on top of
And if we have to,
everything.
if the taxpayers have to pay for this.
So it's really a part-time job.
Yeah, and these are, and as I said, these are younger responders. They have families. They go to soccer games. They go to work. They're saying how they have to work more hours now to make ends meet with the inflation. And then part of all that, they got to spend, how many hours a week at the firehouse?
How many hours volunteering to do fundraisers? I mean, I was
Exactly.
in Baltimore last week. I mean, the people in there were hustling, making pizzas and wings.
Yep. I mean, it's a major issue. We all know it's a major, it's a snowball coming down the hill, and it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. We gotta do something. The state's gotta do something. They really do.
John mentioned the training for officers. I could probably venture that an educated guess that our officers probably spend 6 hours a week just doing paperwork, keeping records, things like that. I think they split their duties up so that there's just so much to do. And it's mostly state, but it's some federal requirements.
A lot of our districts have hired somebody to do some of that paperwork.
And if you don't do it, you don't get grant funding.
It's just like every month at Fire Advisory Board, I bring up about fire reporting. Okay, the last 4 years, my first 12, 15 years, we were hitting 100%. Now I'm at 86%. It's getting tougher to get them to do it, and the problem is, for them to get a grant, they got to be 100%. If you're not going to be qualified for that grant. Well, it's just, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
Further questions?
if you hear, during the day, I hear it a lot on the scanner. Any kind of semi-major event, we're dispatching a number of mutual aid companies automatically, especially with their tankers. These are people that gotta leave their jobs, they gotta go to the firehouse, they gotta get a tanker, and they gotta go 2 or 3 towns over. You unwrap all that, that's hours, right? And then they gotta go back to their family and do things with their family. I think we're moving towards, Sean, we talked about it, I think we're moving towards a small paid team in Greene County that centrally located that could respond to different towns to at least, knock the fire down or get it to the point where when, our volunteers will join in, obviously. But I think we're moving that way, people. I really do. Makes a lot of sense. They talked about it the other night.
The only thing that I have to say, the mutual aid that we have in place, it certainly does work very well. As soon as Casco gets a structure fire, Athens, West Athens on standby, Hudson's coming with a truck automatically. And then once the chief gets on the scene and we get told to come in, that has saved 10, 15 minutes because you're already getting to the firehouse, getting suited up, ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, that's if you got availability in your town, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I mean, you pick a town, they may not have availability, so their tanker's not rolling. And
Seems like right now we're blessed with those volunteers.
right now we're blessed, yeah, but they're realizing, I don't want to say that these are the chiefs, by the way, there were 23 chiefs. That meeting went for over 2 hours. I don't want to say that they feel they're not appreciated, but I think they would like a little more pat on the back from us, what they're doing. Because I don't think we could ever thank them enough for what they're doing, frankly. But somehow we're gonna have to show some more support some way, financially, or I don't know.
Well, that's why they have their own budgets and their
Right, they're taxed.
their own
Again,
tax and this, but no, what I'm saying, Harry,
But
is
again,
if
it
you
comes
do
to
something, you
volunteer.
do it without looking for reward.
Right,
If you're
but
that much of a egotistical,
no, you're not
you gotta
even,
praise me.
No.
I'm not down with that.
well, I am, because I see what they do, Tommy, and I was part of that fire department, and I seen it. And these are special people,
I'm not denying it.
okay? I just
So
said it
what
right
the
there.
comment you said
And
about
right there, Tommy.
how we have to support them because they
And-
made it sound like
And
we need to praise them.
I'm not buying that one.
Any other questions?
It's a shame the county can't show up to state and federal.
There was nothing on the agenda.
And somehow give them the tax credit, and the county pick up their tax credit or some type of payment.
Yeah, like
Or a volunteer, every time a volunteer gets called to a seat and they show up, it's a certain dollar amount they get from the county or something, and
Yeah.
You can issue them a 1099 a year end. Over 600 hours, it would be required.
right, then the county pay their taxes on it too, so it's tax free for them. And wake these state bureaucrats and federal bureaucrats up too.
Exempted. It's just like election inspectors, the amount of money should be exempted
Exactly,
from payroll tax.
exactly.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
No problem.
You can go home now.
Thanks, John.
Nothing on the agenda. Certainly. Another fine mess you got us into, Charlie.
Sheriff Kuzminski.
Another fine mess you got us into.
I set you up for a short one.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Sheriff. Good evening, everybody.
Just say ditto.
Whatever John said.
Thanks, John.
For some numbers to start off, we did 145 civil attempts, served 91 civil papers, issued 112 traffic tickets, investigated 20 traffic accidents. And there were 3 of them that were horrific, by the way.
Yeah.
Including the ones we mentioned there. We made 27 arrests and 4 DWI arrests. We handled 416 calls for service and made 180 traffic stops. On September 1st, the starting jail population was 38. As of 9/30, it was 42. The high for the month being 43.
We're almost overcrowded.
Yeah.
Corrections officers did 48 transports traveling 1,312 miles, totaling 82 and a half hours, moving 48 inmates. And we have 1 state-ready inmate in our custody. Provision finally is scheduled to start installing our car and body camera systems on October 12th. Captain Quinn and myself are facilitating our first threat assessment meeting tomorrow at our office. And our new community wellness director, Megan Rittinger, started 2 weeks ago and is currently working with Lieutenant Tortorellis on making connections between our office and all the other agencies available in the county to provide services to those who may need assistance. And We've already identified some areas where there's some gaps that she's capable of filling in until the services are in place. So moving along. Under Sheriff Brandon and I are participating in the Sheriff Showdown next Thursday at Watkins Glen Raceway. It's a fundraiser for the New York State Sheriff's Institute, and any money raised will go to supporting the Sheriff's Summer Camp, where I have the ability to send 20 disadvantaged kids from Greene County every summer. Past month's been very busy, and I don't always get the chance to talk about the great things my deputies do every day. But just this past week, we commended 4 of them for going above and beyond. One of them, Deputy Derek Legg, who handled the domestic situation involving 2 children who just lost a parent. He took the extra time and effort to assure that these children were going to be safe in a time where they were most vulnerable. Another was Deputy J.R. Espel, who came across a serious car versus motorcycle accident. And there was a media story that reported that was a trooper. That was not a trooper, it was Deputy Espel. He quickly assessed the situation and immediately attended to the motorcycle operator, who was not conscious and not breathing. He performed CPR on the subject for several minutes until the paramedics arrived. Unfortunately, the subject succumbed to his injuries. But Deputy Espel gave the subject the best chance he could have had at being saved. The last one involved 2 deputies, Deputy Andrew Messina and Deputy Cody Stutz, who responded to a call for a missing child, ended up being a runaway girl who wanted to harm herself. Both deputies conducted several interviews and developed information in 2 counties that led to the recovery of the child and her being brought to the hospital where she got the attention she needed. So just want to say that I'm proud of the work that they're doing and their dedication to helping the people of Greene County every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks.
September 1st, did the amount of pistol permits drop off significantly, or is it about the same?
The volume slowed down, but they're still coming. And we're going to do, we've been doing a few town hall meetings around the county. Basically giving information about the new gun laws and how the pistol permits are going to work. And I believe we're going to schedule one for
November
Durham.
26th. Can't do it, we have a public hearing that night.
Okay. We'll have to reschedule that one, but we are planning on doing one in Durham next. So,
Has the state come up with anything concrete as far as that?
no. Well, they're coming up with their own opinions, but there's no chance.
So, I mean, it's still, it's not constitutional. I mean, it doesn't matter. Nothing in, I mean, like with Daryl asked, I don't care if everybody comes in for a pistol permit. It's your Second Amendment right. Hopefully, everybody wants to exercise their constitutional rights. If 5,000 come in, kudos. If 2 come in, that's their
Yeah,
business.
we're still going to process them and move them forward.
What about cameras? Are we anywhere with that, Sean, as far as buildings? I know the camera, the body cameras in the cars, that's a go.
Right. Well, as a matter of fact, our new IT director is in the house tonight, and Tuesday morning, that's going to be the first thing down his plate will be the review of an RFP to update our
All right.
system. We have money in place.
I want to land that plane. Let's get it done.
Okay, good.
So while you make
Not at the
that introduction,
jail.
Now we know who that is.
Around the building.
Greg Moran, if you'd stand up, please, and for your introduction, this is our new IT director. Greg just left the New York State Inspector General's office, so he's very well qualified. We're very excited about having him start on Tuesday, and he and I will be hip to hip for weeks.
So I know my first order of business.
Yes, first domino.
And we need to fix county emails.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Right.
Any other questions?
Pete, on the gun permits, the curriculum for the training courses, how many have been approved in Greene County by the state or
Well,
are
the way the law
judges
is
approving
written,
them or?
the way the law is written, the licensing authority, which is the county court judge, in our case, it's Judge Wilhelm.
Yeah.
He has the ability to approve a curriculum that is equivalent or exceeds the requirements of the new state law.
Okay.
He has a curriculum in his hands right now, which is actually 17 hours long. So I'm hoping that he approves that and we'll take that.
Okay. What about people working distance? Like if they're working out by Buffalo, would the judge here have to approve a curriculum for a county out there? But say you have a resident of Greene County who happens to be working out there for months.
They can carry.
If they're gonna.
No,
if their
in order
permit
to
is
get a
here-
permit,
If their permit is here, they have to take the course that's approved here.
they have to do it here. There is no
If there's one that
statewide,
No, not yet.
okay,
They don't expect to have that out
There's no
till
reciprocal.
July.
Might not even carry it out there.
yeah,
At some point, you would think that that would be possible, but
okay.
it doesn't look like it right now.
Yeah, they're not gonna do it because they have, every county has their own laws now, their own way of doing
It
things.
is a lot of interpretation going on here that nobody really knows where it's gonna go. We did come up with the semi-automatic rifle purchase coupon amendment. The judge is willing to sign those amendments to anybody who has a pistol permit. So if you basically request it in writing, we'll do the quick background and the mental health check, and he will approve those. If you don't have a pistol permit, though, you have to actually apply for a permit to purchase those.
For a semi-automatic hunting rifle.
New purchases.
New purchase is correct. And that does not include semi-automatic shotguns. You know, the way they define it. It meets their definition. It's gonna be a lot of case by case
People
basis.
make laws that don't understand. But
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thanks, Sheriff. Anybody else have anything to bring up? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Whether we can go in public session for
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Rivera and Leonard. We're adjourned.